Hello and welcome to episode 149 of our SAP on Azure video podcast. Today is June 29th, and together with Robert and Goran, we're here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Today, we have another really cool guest and scenario with us. Michael Mergell joins us again. He has been on the show before, but this time he has created a really amazing demo with Power Virtual Agents, Azure OpenAI, and of course SAP. When talking about these Teams integrations, we often talk about enterprise business scenarios, but it is very useful for IT as well. So Michael started to create a chatbot that can help SAP business colleagues. But then he did something even more amazing, and he will show us the power of prompt engineering and connecting it with SAP. But before we hand over to him, as always, let's quickly take a look at some of the news from this week. And Goran, we start with a blog post from Mary Chen.
Yeah, so that's one of our Microsoft Cloud architects. She did some quick guide for deploying SAP across the availability zones. Availability zones are always strongly recommended. And she did some kind of nice summary about what it is, how to choose it, how to find the latency, how to map physical to the logical zones across the subscription point into the scripts. How about the storages, how to check actually the availability of the different components. So quite nice how to measure also some, network latency from a networking perspective, but also through the SAP means. So quite nice blog, and always it's quite nice overview. It's always good to remind people, yes, zones are the best way for the high availability and goes across the zones because it gives really the highest level of resiliency. The next one would be, I believe, we talked in the past, Holger, about those Azure Charts, right?
Yes.
However, we see that it's also being enhanced with the additional content. Yeah. I just, for example, if you click on the topics as an example, what I noticed below, right?
Sorry.
You have it on
Yes.
a lower right corner of the
Sorry,
it gives
that was the solutions. Let me go back and then I'll click on the topics. Just a second.
The thing is, it gives a kind of nice overview. People need to play a bit, like topics. You see, there is a reference architecture. Actually, it's interesting. I found this SAP somewhere below. So if you find it, somewhere it's, I think, mentioned, and yeah, SAP there. And if you click, you see it filters also. It's related to the virtual machine. So if you click it there, basically it just pulls out all the blogs and updates where anywhere SAP is kind of mentioned as an example. So it is a nice kind of, maybe a help also to browse through the really a huge amount of services and statuses, and then maybe we don't want to go through in the detail, but people can just try it and click it around. It is helpful. It is quite helpful about information when something will be available, SLAs, and then so. Quite nice. If you click on it, just let's maybe try the SLAs as an example. On the top, you have also there. You have the current SLAs. Okay, for me it would be maybe interesting virtual machine, the orange part. In the middle, you have it there. So we said how we are kind of measuring. Last update, the more 199.9%, and then yes, and so on and so forth. So yeah, just let the people try it. It's really kind of nice. It's useful, and it sometimes helps to find different cross topics. Where's what available, which service are there, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Cool.
So let's go for the next one.
moving on, Martin Pankratz had started to publish several security-related blog posts, so on how to use Microsoft Sentinel with SAP, and he just released another video actually, where he talks about how Sentinel can be used, again in the SAP context, and more specifically, he talks about these playbooks. Actually, maybe let me just play this in the background. He talks about the playbooks basically, where you can use these Sentinel alerts that you get from the SAP system, and then you can trigger logic apps or these playbooks that then perform certain actions. So, for example, he has a very popular scenario where a user can be locked in the SAP system if some suspicious activities has been detected. Always, obviously, with some additional approvals in teams and stuff like that. But I think it's a really nice scenario. How also to see how this is evolving, how more and more of these playbooks are being created, so that customers can use them, really just out of the box in their own environments. Then moving on to another blog post. I mean, yes, this is not related to SAP specifically, but obviously we see a lot of customers also using BTP, the SAP Business Technology Platform. And for now, it's a very well, there are multiple ways how you can create services and stuff like that in the BTP, how you can subscribe to services and deploy them and make them available. But now there's a new thing, and that's there's now a Terraform provider for BTP, which means if you are already using Terraform, for example, to deploy your SAP systems on Azure, you can now also use Terraform to do similar stuff on the business technology platform. And I think that's also really nice to see SAP adopting these technologies. So that you don't need to jump to some proprietary technology that is or tools that is provided by SAP, but really something that is very commonly used in the industry. Now, switching topics a little to artificial intelligence. Goran, you found a very nice article about Mercedes-Benz enhancing drivers' experience with Azure OpenAI.
Yeah, so when I first time when I saw the OpenAI and ChatGPT, so I said, okay, you put the chat, you put kind of any question, and I thought, okay, I mean, okay, you are typing in, but basically today we have also, quite good services to, recognize the voice, meaning to give the input not just by typing, by voicing, and also in a backward to synthetic voice, which are quite good. So basically, this is a kind of prototype what Mercedes-Benz and Microsoft are working in, kind of the enabling ChatGPT, so to say, through the voice control, because you're driving, so to say, right? You can't type it in while driving to get a different information, like so there are kind of different information. Where can I fill the gasoline? Where can I find the restaurants? I mean, and interesting. But what you will, I know, soon mention it. But they're also talking about you bring your own data, so to say, as a source, right? And
that's actually
use your own data coming to public review. I know you would mention it now. But basically, I mean, it's just a nice example. You can plug this stuff for any kind of use case. And even more interesting, you can plug into any kind of data, because, I mean, these AI needs some kind of data source. And this brings really to unlimited possibilities. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about this another an announcement about your own data, so to say, for example, in the next.
Exactly. So I just wanted to say, so this blog post here this article was published on June 15th, and down here it says public preview to be announced, to be coming later this month. And actually, we are later this month. So this is now the announcement that Azure OpenAI can now also use your own data. And that's actually something really, really powerful. If you have already access to the AI Studio on Azure, then this has now been enhanced so that you can very easily upload your own documents or put them on an Azure Blob Store or something like that. And then Azure OpenAI can leverage this data So it's not only able to access the public information or the information that was used to train the original GPT-4 model, but it now can also use this information that is available in your own documents. And that I think opens up a lot of new possibilities. If you upload manuals that you have in your environment, or if you upload some other documents that you have there, then now you can very easily also use GPT to interact with this specific data. So I think that is also really, really powerful. Good. So with this, actually, I think we've covered the latest news. So let's actually hand it over to Michael. Michael, maybe you can quickly introduce yourself. I mean, the last time you were here on the show, you talked about SDAF, the SAP Deployment Automation Framework, and how this can be integrated in DevOps. But this time you brought us something very, very different. So before we go there, let's maybe quickly introduce yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Holger and Goran, very much for having me on the show again. So I'm Michael Mergell, Cloud Solution Architect for SAP on Azure, and working for Microsoft since 4 years. Remember, Holger, we had our interview 4 years ago.
Yes.
So my job here is to make customers successful with their SAP workloads. Yeah? So that's it. Yeah. So I guide them to build solution that meets their demands in terms of business requirements, IT requirements. So before, more from the infrastructure perspective, but now also more and more help them extend their capabilities. And in the area of automation, that's why I was already in the show with Terraform and Ansible, but now also more security, monitoring, data and AI, or like we will see today with Teams and Power Platform integration and even OpenAI. Yeah.
Cool.
Besides, I'm practice lead for SAP on Azure practice in Germany. And in that role, I developed the team capabilities further and also streamline customer feedback towards the Azure engineering team.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so before I show the demo, I'd like you to better understand the involved components and how they are linked together. So therefore, let me first of all share a presentation. Move next slide. So today I would like to present 4 use cases that one of my customers currently implementing. The first 3, for the first 3, we're looking into the yellow mark connector in the Power Platform. Yeah? So as a reminder, here we see all the connectors. Today it's about the SAP ERP connector in the Power Platform. So the ERP connector allows to run BAPIs, so this business application programming interface through this RFC, remote function calls in SAP. And so the connector offers an easy integration of SAP with Microsoft applications.
Mm-hmm.
And so currently customer is in the POC phase, but it really looks promising. And we will see that in the demo later. So here are the 4 use cases. So the first one was born out of the idea or the problem that the customer has, the SAP Basis team has lots of work with end users that have troubles to do their work due to authorization issue or user lock issue or various things. So that's a self-service that will help the users to understand what's wrong. And then they are pointed in the right direction to solve their problem. And the sub-team will be relieved from lots of handling those issues. Then the second use case is, imagine a business user that is waiting for a really critical job to complete. And those jobs, we know it, they are important for example, that a certain business process in the factory knows what to do, or could be anything. And so business users are often waiting for that. And so that's a self-service where they can quickly check, hey, I would like to know what's the job doing, where is it? And so this helps everyone and relieves as well the SAP Basis team. The third use case is, I think, also really nice and quite resonates with a lot of customer I've noticed where I talked about them with it. So the downtime communication is always taking a lot of time. You have to inform for different systems, different people. in different channels, mail, Teams. You want to document the downtime in a SharePoint list maybe, and you have to inform the users that are logged on to SAP. So that's also now a communication of a downtime takes just a few seconds in the Teams chat. So that's also really nice. And last but not least,
Michael, just one thing that I just thought about is when you mentioned it, because it's not only about informing the user via the SAP GUI that there is a planned maintenance, but in a lot of cases there's additional communication that needs to happen. So instead of doing this, logging onto the SAP GUI and then setting up the system message there with this Teams integration, now you have the possibility to not only do this, but potentially also inform via other channels the users.
Yeah, and what is important is that very often you miss people, and with that you only miss them once, because if you have added then the other group or people to the list, you will never miss them again. And you can use the same process for different systems, different groups. So I think this is looks simple, but I think it's really powerful, and actually, this was a demand from the customer, but then when the customer saw this use case, he said, "Oh wow, that's so cool! Can I also talk in Teams about my SAP data?" And then I thought, "Oh wow, that's a tough one," but actually then it became so easy to create this. But yeah, I will show you now. First of all, very briefly here, the architecture. So we have the user in Teams, and he is in Teams. We have linked here a bot. So this is just so easy to create a bot. It's in 5 minutes with the Power Virtual Agents tool in the Power Platform. And so he is asking the question through the Teams channel. The bot then calls the Power Automate flow, and in the Power Automate flow, we have all those insane capabilities with, I don't know, hundreds of connectors. And so there's one connector, which is the SAP connector, where we can call RC BAPI. So the flow is through this connector, and we need a data gateway to do protocol translation, and we need some binaries. And then we call the SAP system. And the SAP system does then what it's supposed to do when I call this certain function call, and pushes back the information. And that's what I use for the user management and the job status check. And the next one, the communication of the planned maintenance, is just an additional 3 steps where I use the Microsoft SharePoint, Teams, and Outlook connector to inform the relevant channels and people.
Cool.
Yeah. And then the last case, maybe the most really thrilling. I'm so fascinated about this. So the first one's already cool, but this is I'm really so fascinated. So it's now, as we have already now with this customer built the foundation. So we have the Power Platform connected to Teams. We have everything there. Then we are just using another connector in the flow, the HTTP connector, and we are pulling the Azure OpenAI Service. So all the questions and the data that flows is customer private. It's in the Azure subscription where he has the SAP system. So it's all private. And then the OpenAI will give us back the SQL command, and the SQL command is then triggered through a function app. It's running the command and getting back from the SAP HANA database directly the result. And then we push that back through the flow and the chat to Teams. And here we have all the possibility to format this in tables, in adaptive cards. So I will show you in a moment.
So Azure OpenAI is the brain who figured it out what kind of SQL statement should send to SAP, not us.
You'll see in a second.
Wow.
This is absolutely mind-blowing.
It's
Right.
I think it's really mind-blowing. And
Okay.
I will stop maybe you would say, or customers watching this would say, hey, are you crazy going with SQL directly on my database? I don't want that. And totally understood. I get that. And so, I mean, we are here just for the POC phase, but later on, for sure, we should decouple those processes from the production database. So the idea is to download the data and run then queries over data that is maybe in another database or in the Azure Data Lake. Or to be honest, Holger, Goran, the next step would be maybe use what you just presented, the service in preview. I just put all the data on a blob storage, and then Azure OpenAI's AI knows the data, and there is no SQL anymore in between. Yeah,
Right.
it has the data, it knows it. It knows the data, and then I simply ask the questions and get the answers, and even predictions or whatever. You know?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Let's continue the discussion once we see the demo, because I think this is so absolutely amazing. And I think what you've done there is just the starting point. And I think if we spend a little more time on this, then everyone will see the possibilities. But before we go to the AI stuff, let's take a look at the other functionalities of your bot.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, let's have the look on the first 3 use cases, and let's quickly go through it. So I would like now to I'm an end user now. I would like to check what's going on for my end user. So I choose one in my self-service, and this is just how I built the demo. This can look like anything what you want. Yeah. So I'm now checking for my own user, because I mean the user ID is the same in the Microsoft or Office or Teams world like in SAP, and so it knows I'm Nestor Wilke. That's my name here in the demo. I have this role. The user is not logged. Everything is okay.
And just to emphasize, so this data is coming now really live from the SAP system. So the first steps in the flow are just welcome and then getting started to see what you want to do. And then here, you're actually making the call to the SAP system exactly like you outlined, using BAPIs, using the on-premises data gateway, connect to the SAP system, fetch the data, the relevant data, and then display it back in Teams.
Yeah, and I can show you the flow. So it's a chatbot. You see the chatbot. It gets triggered. It can be triggered, or I get directed to it through the greetings topic. Yeah. So you see here, it's just I have to configure a couple of questions. So which SAD is it? My own user, the other user? Some conditions. If it's my own user, I set the user my own user. If it's another user, I have to ask which user is it. And then I run the flow. It's the subcheck user roles and status. So it's calling here the flow, and then it's giving back the information and posting it in Teams. And now I show you also the flow. Sub user check and roll. So the flow, I mean, it's all like playing with Lego. You just take building blocks and put this together. It's no code, or maybe I don't know, not a developer, I cannot judge if parsing JSON. Yeah, so there are a little bit of formulas here, like I need to pull out the a little bit of parsing, but I think it's not programming or so. And if you don't know how to build this formula, you can always ask ChatGPT and you will get it instantly. Yeah, so. It's really easy. So here I'm checking here if it's my own user or another user, and here I do a switch if it's PM1 and PM4. And funny thing here, I lock the user before. If I do it on another user, I lock it here so I can show how to unlock. But yeah, we will skip this for the sake of the time. So really easy, and then at the end, I push back to the Power Virtual Agents the results. So the roles he has, what's the user status, is it locked or not, and the user I was checking, if it was my own user or another user.
Michael, just again, so in Teams, you are in Teams, then you use Power Virtual Agent to create the bot. Power
Yeah.
Virtual Agent calls a Power Automate flow. In this
Yeah.
Power Automate flow is all the logic to call the SAP system, retrieve the relevant information, and then you pass it back on, the result you pass back on to Power Virtual Agent, which then posts this information here in the Teams channel.
Yeah. That is exactly like you described nicely the picture I was showing before. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah. And so the maintenance communication is maybe let's do this also quite quickly. So for which system I choose again PM1. There will be a maintenance. Let's say what time is it? Okay, let's see. At 3 p.m. EST, let's say, is the maintenance start. And it will end at 6 p.m. CEST. What's the reason for the maintenance? Let's say it's an SAP kernel patch we have to do, something that happens from time to time. And so I get a question, is this really the maintenance that I would like to communicate? And yeah, that's correct. That's what I want. And now, so the Teams is in contact like you described with the Power Virtual Agent. The Power Virtual Agent is calling the flow with the different actions. Maybe I show you the specific flow where we communicate the maintenance. And here we go. So here you see all the runs, yeah? And let's go to edit and see what's going on there. Basically very similar to the one before, but we have some additional steps where we also send an email, we post a card in the Teams channel, we add what we are doing in SharePoint. And so here in Teams, you see the downtime has been communicated. And maybe as an example, let's go to the SharePoint. So I have here the maintenance planning. Let me order this newer to older. And here we go. So we have on PM1, we have in 3 hours a downtime with the sub kernel. And yeah, the mails and the other stuff, I mean, I don't show this now for the sake of the time. So let's move on. What else do I have to do? Hey, I'm really waiting that this SAP job is need to be finished. Yeah, I'm user in a factory and I need to know what's going on. And when I get the information from this job, so I have this set up only on PM4 for now. So we have to go to PM4. And here I've set up some demo jobs, so where we can see where we get some results.
Nice. So again, I don't need to log in necessarily to the SAP GUI to check the transaction, to check the logs, but I can do this directly here from Teams.
Yeah. And I mean, for the authorization part, I mean, we're using here a generic user, to have it quickly set up, But I mean, the proper way is I'm the user. I'm going there with single sign-on, and I mean, you have other videos on the channel where we explain how this can be achieved. But that's what we can do. And here we get the result, and we see, hey, there are jobs aborted and when and what's the status. Then another one is scheduled, and then we have long-running jobs and so on. Yeah.
Really nice. Yeah.
Super.
But now we come to the highlight.
Yeah. No.
I mean, this is already fantastic. Just I mean, I really think this is super helpful for SAP Basis colleagues. That on the one hand, they can really now do a lot of things directly from Teams, so they don't need to jump for a certain task into the SAP GUI. But what I also really like was this communication, the maintenance communication, because yes, maybe I am the SAP guy and I'm already in the SAP GUI, so it would be very easy for me to schedule this message. But then, as we just said, maybe I want to track it in SharePoint. Maybe you want to send something in Teams and communicate. Maybe I want to send out an email and stuff like that. And with this, everything is combined in one workflow. I have the beautiful experience of doing these tasks in Teams, but then at the same time, it's not only the message is not only created in the SAP system, but also in SharePoint, in Outlook, in Teams, and so on.
Yeah.
So you
Nice.
got the
There's
message here, right?
Yeah.
The
So the
summary.
message is also there. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Really nice.
Good. Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm ready.
Shoot it.
Fasten your seatbelts. So I can do it here in the here from the self-service, but I think I took this out because I mean it's maybe it's different. Yeah, it's something that maybe a different user group should use, and certain authorization are required because you have access to data, which is maybe sensitive. So yeah, anyway, so I put this into a different bot where we then can, on a granular way, provide authorization in a different way. And yeah, let me show this here. So what before we talked, Holger, it was just a one-shot questioning. Yeah, I improved this a little bit. Now I have a conversation. I can ask follow-up questions.
Okay.
So but not, maybe let's now start with I've prepared some question. So maybe now for this demo, I would like to know, or no, I need to explain what's there. Yeah, so maybe most of the audience knows the SAP flight demo data. So to show here something, I need some data. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. So the flight demo data is an easy way to create some tables and data. And so that's the tables we have. So we have a customer table. We have the flight bookings. We have the flight connections, and then we have the schedules. We have the airlines, and we have the airports. There are a lot of data. There's a lot of data in there, but for sure you can't compare this with the real flights data that is going on. But it's just to explain the concept, and I think customers can now think about, hey, what is my data? What is the structure of the data? And I mean, I'm putting, when I'm calling OpenAI, I'm putting this structure here. And I will show you in the flow later where I put it. I put the instructions to explain OpenAI what I'm talking about, what we are talking about. And yeah, so just so that you understand, it's just an example. And dear customer, think about your data, your structure, and do you want to ask questions about your data that your application is not able to visualize? Yeah, so here you can have a conversation with your data.
And
so I would like
data. Yeah.
Yeah, with live data in that case. So now I would like to know, hey, on which day I know that I have not all the flight data on the world for every day. So what data do I have here? On which day are most of the flights scheduled? So here, this is just a chat, and I get a simple response. Yeah, so I get here the question and the answer. So how do we approach the question? How do we answer it? It tells me the SQL command and then the result. So I'm pasting this here just for documentation purpose, because I can also do learning, and so if I have really complicated things that after only a long conversation I get the answer, I can put this result into my OpenAI learning model. And then if I ever ask a similar question, OpenAI knows already also to handle those more complex things. But
Michael, before you continue, because I think this is already absolutely amazing, and I just want to re-emphasize. So you ask a natural question, then what Azure OpenAI did is it understood what it's all about, and then it translated the question into a SQL query. So and this is not something where you said, well, look, this is do a select on this table, and then maybe ChatGPT helps you somehow with joining some information or creating some lookups. But in this case, Azure OpenAI really from the question, it generated the full SQL statement. And only, and we'll take a look at the prompt that you created in later on, I hope. But by only providing the structure and the references. And that when you showed this to me the first time, I was absolutely amazed. And I mean, yes, we are querying S-flight data, but just think of the possibilities. And I would say, yes, we are doing SQL queries, but this could be potentially extended. Why not do the same thing for OData queries, or have some CDS views that we query? So this simple line here that you show with this answer that we got, that is absolutely amazing from my point of view.
Yeah. So here we see how the follow-up works. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm asking here how many flights per airline on that day. So how it works in OpenAI, in Azure OpenAI. So I have to send back all the conversation I had before. I have to send it again because it's always a one shot. So OpenAI doesn't know what was before, like in the chat that I do with ChatGPT, because there I have cookies in my browser, or it stores it anyway. So here, that's the follow-up question now. It knew I was talking about yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
And and now I would like to show you how I can also represent this. So I'm pushing this into the flow in a nicer format for me, so that I can better consume. And so let's
Really
go up.
nice.
So this is now, I have a table. Yeah, I have my conversation. There was the first question and the result. I do not send back the SQL again because it will confuse. Otherwise, I have troubles to get out the latest SQL. But I think that's enough if I send back the description, how we got to the first result. And then I have a follow-up question, how many flights per airline? And then the SQL command is, I take this out, and then I create automatically this graph and get this result. Yeah.
Oh,
Really
So-
amazing. This is
I mean, on one hand, I mean, just to have those simple to use connector, it's one great stuff to enable end-to-end scenario and connect the dots, really different dots. But to plug in the brain, so meaning not just use my brain, what kind of SQL statement I have to know it. You know, you have to know, which is the one way to do it. And we were doing, I mean, Holger, you were also doing those kind of stuff. But here you're asking the brain, which is an AI, okay, how can I do it? And it figure it out by itself, you know, without me having to know how to do it, right? So which
Yeah,
is
exactly.
And now I would like to show you a more complicated question. I mean, that is, how many empty seats had Lufthansa in economy class in June 2023 each day? I mean, think about how you would get to the SQL command to find out this information.
So all this information is somewhere in S-Flight. So in this demo
No.
database on the SAP system.
It is spread over multiple tables. You have to really understand. So you have the flights in one table. You have the seats maybe in another table.
Yes.
And then you have the seats of economy class, first class, business class. Then you have different dates. You have the bookings. I took this more complicated example so that we get a grip about the capabilities of the SQL commands that it creates at the end.
So basically, you need to think about this SQL command, which runs the query across the different table, the joins, whatever, you know, filter them.
Yeah. So in the flow, we have already the result, and here it comes. Let's have a look on the nicer format. I like this more. So the SQL command, I mean, you see it's
A little complicated.
It's a bit more complicated. And then you get the graph. Yeah, I mean, we have not all the dates.
Nice.
Because not on every day we have Lufthansa flights. So or did I ask for Lufthansa flights?
Well,
Yeah, I did. Yeah, LH. Yeah. So it translates also Lufthansa to the airline code. So it's yet another table where it goes to.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. And maybe
and
let me.
Why I also like this, especially in the context of low code, is you are not, or at least I assume you are not a SQL expert. So I guess you could look it up and Google and whatever, and then you would somehow end up with this or a similar SQL statement. But here you just express this in natural language, And then again, Azure OpenAI is able to translate this into this very complex SQL statement that we just saw.
Yeah.
So absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And my biggest learning was actually, you hear a lot of people telling, yeah, prompt engineering, that's the future job. Yeah. And I wasn't really sure what that means. I mean, for sure, asking the right question is important. But by working here with the customer on this, realizing that actually the only tuning we did was in the first place to improve here the instructions, because we will send the instructions with every question. So in the instructions, you see that here the tables and what data they contain. Then
this is basically what you showed us in the Excel table
in the Excel,
before.
yeah. And this is how I move it over to OpenAI. Maybe how we move it over. Let's have a look here in the HTTP request. So I call the URL, which is in our subscription,
Azure
and
subscription.
we have the key, and then the message is sent in this format. So we do here this instruction. That's what we explain, how the data model looks like, the question, and temperature is also quite important. The temperature is in this case set to 0 because I don't want creativity. Maybe I should set it back to maybe 0.3 to have some creativity to think more about how to combine the tables. But I wanted to avoid here a lot of failures. So the temperature is set here to 0 for the moment. And the instruction, it was also a bit frustrating at times because I had it worked well for a couple of days and then suddenly was bad. And I thought, oh no, OpenAI is bad, doesn't work, it's too stupid. Yeah. But then actually, because I told OpenAI it's an SAP HANA database, so I thought he would know everything. But actually, once I pointed to this documentation, the SQL reference guide, it became a whole different thing. Yeah.
Wow.
And so again, you just told the prompt that there's additional information on a public website on how the SQL query for HANA would look like, and you could literally see how it improved the quality of the results.
Can you open that link on helpsub.com, please? Just open it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This one, here, that one, yeah.
And that was, I mean, I know we had this discussion when you told me, look, it's not working. The quality is not as good as it was before. And then there came the other message that you just added this link or this reference to the prompt, and all of a sudden it changed. And
so for example, it's suddenly using functions like month name, and before I had 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 12, and then suddenly I have month name and I have January. So it changed everything. It was and another really a game changer was here. Let me take this phrase here, because sometimes I got results that were just stupid, and then I said this here: if an answer cannot be provided with the existing table and columns, explain it to me and propose another question and answer that is similar. And then actually I realized I'm bad at languages, actually, because I was not precisely writing what I wanted, and OpenAI understood somehow, hey, Michael, what you are asking is stupid. You should ask this. And then it provided me the nice result.
That's really impressive.
So basically, in some way, in this example, you're already providing an external data. I mean, not the data source, but the intelligence source.
No, it is an external data source.
It is the external data source. Yes, I mean, but
it's a public. It's a public,
right.
and now looking back at the
through the chat functionality is not just like, okay, I'm programming through the chat. Wow.
So I'm showing a little bit, what is the price of a beer at each airline? Before I got an SQL error or something like that, and and now I get I would be surprised to now see the beer price
because the
each
beer price
airline.
is not there. Well, but theoretically, maybe it would look up now the public websites of Lufthansa and so. And
I mean,
so on.
maybe, but then I should ask in the instruction about this.
Yeah.
While we are waiting, let me show you. Yeah, this is something difficult to prepare. So let me maybe show you how this worked out here. So I ask how much revenue generates each plane. Yeah, please provide the top 7. And so it's not plane, it's an airplane. Yeah, so it didn't
Okay.
understand me. So what I had at first was, okay, it provided the total revenue. And then I said, that's not what I want. Then I did a follow-up question and asked, hey, which airplane types are there? And then it found the airplane types. Yeah, and then I said, okay, as we have the airplane types, we should be able to identify the revenue. And then I said, okay, revenue, he doesn't know. So maybe it's bookings actually, where you need to sum up the bookings to get to the revenue that can be related to the airplanes. And then I got the result. I got the revenue per, yeah. So I think that is a capability. I mean, talking to my SAP data and find out new things that I think this is extraordinary.
I'm impressed. It's just unlimited possibilities, so to say, really, kind of. It's just unlocking in an easy way. I mean, unlocking through the interfaces is already great stuff, easy to use interface. But here, unlocking in the implementation and the knowledge and brain, so to say, it's another level.
Yeah. So that's not actually also nice. We got an error, so that can also happen. And yeah, so troubleshooting is also nice. And you see here we have the post message, and very likely there are too many users using the OpenAI service. And so I think maybe we have I don't know, yeah. It's just not coming back. So it doesn't matter. I can cancel here, or it will go into a timeout, and then let me ask the question again. So if something like this happens, I just wait a bit and start from scratch. And so
and that is most likely because of the limitations that we currently have in our Azure subscription, that it's throttled quite a lot because of this huge demand by customers and partners. But hopefully. Yeah. I mean, if you're using this, if you would really use this in a productive way, then you have different throttling limits, obviously, and then hopefully it would work.
Yeah. So that happens from time to time, but is not really a problem because there's no time pressure, I think, for this kind of activities. So what's the beer price? Where's the answer?
That's the price.
So the given answer cannot be provided because there was no column. So it proposes another question. Yeah. What is the total revenue or bookings per month for each airline? Oh, I get a big feedback. Yeah. Okay.
So no beer.
Yeah, no beer.
Yeah, that's about it.
So Michael, that is absolutely amazing, and I'm so happy that you could join us today, because when we first talked about these scenarios, I was really excited, and I really thought this is something that everyone should take a look at. And as you said, I mean, I guess you're not the Teams development expert, you're not the expert in C#, you're not the expert in SQL, but using all these low-code tools, and I think you also said that you used ChatGPT quite a lot as well to help you create certain formulas and stuff like that, and it worked. So I think that's also a beautiful example that with these technologies, yeah, I think as Goran says, sky is the limit. So you can really build absolutely amazing scenarios. And yes, S-Flight might not be the scenario that everyone is going to implement, but this is just a beautiful example. Now think of sales order data, or your business partner information, or all the other tables that are available in the SAP system. So it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, better start better start soon with OpenAI. Definitely.
I'm impressed.
So Michael, you know what this means, right? I mean, last time you joined us and talked about some boring automation stuff with infrastructure. Now you talked about some really cool Teams and AI integrations. So for the next time when you join, I'm really looking forward to this one.
Now, the third topic would be how to use the OpenAI to automate the SAP deployment.
we already talking about that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Definitely cool.
Right.
Yeah, but cool idea. Yeah, and I mean we're also looking forward to the evolution. Yeah, with GPT-4. I mean we have more tokens, so then we can really enter in a very long conversation with the data. Yeah, and then if the data is maybe downloaded on the blob space and we have not anymore the SQL interface, I think this is just a start. It will be incredible. Yeah.
Wow.
Cool. I'm looking forward to some new things from you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sure we'll see you again. And yeah, for everyone else, see you next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.